Welcome in, everybody, to Gaughan Racing. Another fabulous edition. Me, Brendan Gaughan, hanging out in the South Point studio, and my good buddy, Mr. Jeffrey Motley. You actually are at Sonoma this weekend, hanging out in the media. Not as cool as where I was hanging out last weekend, just saying. But Media Center at Sonoma, not bad.
Yeah, I'm not out in the desert. I was able to, I don't know if you can see, I've kind of got the race trophy up there behind me. You might be able to see part of it. I don't know. So trying to boost the setup a little bit. Looking forward to having you up here tomorrow for some of our good friends going into the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame tomorrow night. So great way to kick off the weekend up here in Sonoma.
We got our Vegas guy, Dick Cobb. We got him in. Unfortunately, Dick passed away about a year and a half ago, but we got him in the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame where he belongs. So I will see you tomorrow night at dinner for that big gala. We got Jimmy Johnson in this year. We got some big names in this year.
Yeah, Jimmy Vassar, who lives in Las Vegas, is going to be going in, and Cal Wells, who's been around a long time as a team owner in IndyCar, kart, Champ Car, whatever.
He's at Legacy now.
Yes, exactly. So great group going in. There'll also be their what do they call it, the Legends Club or whatever, the older guys. I don't really know who all those guys are. Most of those guys raced out here on the West Coast before I even moved to the West Coast, so I don't know all those guys.
Guys that I remember, you don't remember. Well, actually, even I remember the names. I don't remember them. They go fairly old. But Jeff, last week, Worldwide Technology Raceway. Oh my God, what a race! How about that thing?
I don't even know where to start with that. I mean,
start at the finish, start early,
and you're right. If you're Christopher Bell and Ryan Blaney, you think, well, somebody had a voodoo doll sticking pins in them. And Austin Cindric was completely the opposite way. I mean, he had a rabbit's foot, a four-leaf clover, you name it, all around him. Holy smokes! And look, Austin Cindric winning that race has also thrown the point standings into tumult.
Huge disarray.
You and I talked about what happens if somebody outside those top 19 drivers wins a race. Well, guess what? It's happened.
No, and way outside those top 16, 18 drivers. I mean, huge. So that was a big, massive deal. That race in the end, first of all, from the start to finish, hell of a race. I mean, the fireworks show at the start, Michael McDowell on the front row, Austin Cindric, couldn't believe those two things. But at the end, you got Christopher Bell, absolutely fastest thing on the racetrack, passes Ryan Blaney. He's going forward. And then you hear on the broadcast, his motor's blowing up. You're like, oh my God, couldn't believe it. He's got to make 15 laps with a motor that's limping, just trying to survive. And then Ryan Blaney, he's got it won, huge lead. He's going to win the thing. And they come right as the white flag waves, he parks it. And old Austin Cindric, his Penske teammate, drives by. We've talked about the Fords all season long, saying the Penske Fords had non-existent. Not so much today, except for the one Penske Ford that we expected. He's still non-existent. But the Penske Fords finally showed up, and RFK with Brad Keselowski still performing very well.
You're right. I mean, it's certainly, I think the Fords, now I think this week's going to be a little bit tougher on the Fords, but I think you're exactly right. Early in the year, it seemed that they didn't have it all put together, but they're really starting to figure out this car, this setup that they're able to use. So I think the Ford guys are clearly challengers out there right now. But boy, you're talking about the way that race ended. I still want to know how Ryan Blaney ran out of fuel. He should have had plenty. Like, I don't want, and maybe you know more than I do, but I don't understand how, the fuel guy doesn't tell the crew chief, hey, I didn't get it completely full. I mean, he has to know, right? I got no clue. That was so far in the distance that he should have had zero problems. That had to be an absolute miscalculation on somebody's part. They didn't, the fuel man didn't think he got it short. He didn't weigh it correctly. He didn't give the information to the crew chief. There was no way he should have ran out of gas right there. That was absolutely unbelievable. But it did give us Austin Cindric's second career win behind his debut in 2022 at the Daytona 500. Freaking amazing for him. And like you said, it ups topsy-turvied the points. But let's talk about how much it paid if you bet Austin Cindric. How about this? When we talked about it last week, I don't think we even mentioned the second column of the second row of the winners. And Austin Cindric, 200-1 to win this race. He was 60-1 to be a top three. And of course, Ford was 240. He was opening odds, and the championship line has moved. He's still value. He was 200-1 at the start of the season. He is 100-1 now. Still not a lot of faith in Austin Cindric, but he got it there. He's in the playoffs.
One heck of a job by that young man. That is definitely not the place, Jeff. When I was always thinking we get 16 winners, we're always having that argument last couple of years. Worldwide Technology Raceway was not the line that I said, oh, that's a race that we might get one of those surprise winners.
No, you're right. The two guys that had won there previously, Kyle Busch had a decent run going, and he and Kyle Larson got into a dispute over position, and it didn't end well for Kyle Busch. And then Joey Logano had a fairly solid run most of the day. So both of those guys, were able to put it together. But let's give Cindric some credit. He still had to be there. He was still running second in order to take advantage of Ryan Blaney running out of gas. It wasn't a situation where, it started raining with 15 to go and he happened to be sitting out front. This was a case where he drove a great race all day long, was solid, was consistent, and he was there to take advantage of an opportunity when it presented itself.
Well, and I'm not going to knock the raining with 15 to go, just FYI, I'd still take it. But no, he was in position all day long, ran great. Let's look at that top 10 for a minute. You had the 60-1 shot with Austin Cindric. You have Denny Hamlin, another top 5 right there. Denny, one heck of a streak, finished second for the 6th time straight top 5 finish of this season. He's done 6 in a row in the top 5. So Denny is still on fire. Brad Keselowski was plus 350. And then, like you said, you have Joey Logano right there. Austin Dillon with a much-needed, really good run. A little bit of strategy in that, but still a much-needed, really good run. Christopher Bell did a great job still coming home top 10. Martin Truex Jr., great teamwork there at the end, pushing his teammate down the straightaways to try to help him keep running. That was pretty awesome. And then how about these next two? Carson Hocevar 8th and Justin Haley in a Rick Ware Ford 9th. If you had a top 10 bet on Justin Haley, I know we don't do that on Gaughan Racing, DraftKings has that. I guarantee you Justin Haley was a double digit for a top 10.
No, I think you probably would be exactly right. I mean, no one needed a run like that as bad as Austin Dillon did. So mention him. And look, we can talk strategy all we want. Strategy helped all those Penske cars get up there. I mean, there was just different strategies, but it worked because they realized the tires weren't wearing that bad. I mean, there was certainly some tire attrition, but not as badly as I think some of the teams thought it was going to be. So some were able to stay out longer, stretch their fuel longer. And Brad Keselowski, he waited till almost the very end to pit, and then the tires really did work in his favor, and he was able to work his way all the way up to the top 3.
Yep, let's look at the standings real quick. Denny Hamlin, we talked about that 6th straight top 5 finish. He is now officially your points leader ever since Kyle Larson, who, by the way, was granted the waiver that everybody was worried about. He got the waiver, but Kyle Larson now is 3rd in the playoff standings, but he is 2nd in the point standings. He is now 30 points back or 20 points back of Denny Hamlin. And then the big thing we're talking about, though, how about this cut line right here? It moved drastically with that Austin Cindric win. You now have Chase Briscoe on the outside by 10 points. You got Joey Logano outside by 14, and Kyle Busch with that wreck with that did not help him. He was having a good run, and then him and Kyle Larson got into it. He is now 20 points out of the cut line. And if you look even below that, the names keep getting bigger and bigger, Jeff. They are big names that are sitting outside that cut line.
No question. And I think there's some guys that are going to be nervous. One other thing with Kyle Busch, Kyle's won a race every year for 19 consecutive seasons. And I think that streak means a lot to Kyle. And I mean, right now we got to be searching for where are there areas that we think Kyle Busch has got an opportunity to extend that streak to get to 20. I think he felt really good going into Gateway. And like you said, he was having a pretty good run there at Gateway until he got into the crash. So, I think both of those things probably weighing on him, being below the cut line and knowing he's got that win streak in jeopardy. Yeah,
I mean, and that win streak means a lot to him. He is absolutely, that's something that he does not want to see come to an end, in his opinion, prematurely. So he is going to be working hard. But for the next couple races, he's got some shots here. He's not bad at Toyota. We're, of course, at Sonoma. You're there right now for the Toyota Save Mart 350. That's what we got this week. You go after that to the Iowa Corn 350, the inaugural race up at Iowa Speedway. Then we head on to my favorite, I got to say it every time, not Crayola Crayon 301 up at New Hampshire. Then the Ally 400 Nashville. And then, of course, the Grant Park 165, the return on 4th of July weekend of the Chicago Street Course. Jeff, once again, eclectic schedule coming up, and good for some, not great for others. But Kyle Busch, he needs to have a run in one of these.
Yeah, he definitely needs to have a run in one of these. And you're exactly right. It's a great little mix up of schedules. Two completely different type of road courses. Really,
Hmm.
a road course and a street course. We're also going to go to a track that we've never raced the Cup Series on, and a track that's actually probably been worked on a little bit since a lot of these guys even ran there in Xfinity or trucks. So I think they're going to find a little bit of a difference there. Nashville's not a track that we have a lot of Cup Series data points on. There's only been a couple of races there. New Hampshire's kind of the, I guess the stalwart, if you will. It's been on the circuit for quite some time, but that's a track that we've seen a lot of different guys in different races come to the front.
Well, and you said Sonoma has a repave this weekend. We were talking before the show. I didn't even know that. Sonoma has a brand new repave around the whole course, you're saying, and another new added feature. Jeff, tell us about the new added feature.
Well, yeah, we have completely repaved the track. We did do a test up here. Josh Berry, Ross Chastain, and Martin Truex Jr. did the test. So we had one from each of the manufacturers out there. But the other thing that people are going to find a little bit different is in turn 11, the hairpin turn, if you will. There's now a concrete barrier, like we call K-rail or jersey barrier, that goes around the entire inside of that turn. And I think that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge than when we used to have the tire barricades that the teams could kind of nerf up against it, push it back a little bit, and suddenly the course would get a little shorter every lap. And you're not going to be able to do that now. So you have to be a little bit more careful getting into turn 11.
I don't know what you're talking about. We never do something like that, Jeff. We don't intentionally try to just nudge those back every lap.
Let's just say we are now protecting the integrity of the racing line.
And I always argue with you about that, especially at Sonoma. So I give them kudos. I can't wait to see how far that is.
You'll get to see it tomorrow. You'll get to see it tomorrow night.
That's right. I want to see how far that is off the race of what I would consider the racing line too. That is going to be a big difference. No more bonsai in that corner and think you're going to get away with it. No more bailing out and driving through Gilligan's Island there. It's definitely going to be a change. All right, when we come back, guys, we're going to get to who's been great at Sonoma. And, of course, the stuff that we're getting paid the big bucks for, the odds to win.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. Gaughan Racing. Brendan Gaughan hanging out in the South Point studio. Mr. Jeff Motley hanging out at the fabulous Sonoma Raceway out in the media center. And Jeff, we're getting ready to start talking about the good stuff here, which is how everybody is at Sonoma and getting to our bets. And Sonoma, there's a guy we just talked about who needs a win, right? We talked about he has some of the best stats here in all of NASCAR. Kyle Busch, 50% top 10, 7 out of 18 top 5s with 2 wins in his career. This is arguably his best road course.
No question, it's his best road course. Certainly, he's going to have to come in here with a lot of confidence. Kyle Busch, definitely a guy who's got an opportunity here. But look, we talk about how many different tracks are Martin Truex Jr.'s home tracks. Well, he kind of owns this racetrack. I mean, if you're going to win here, you know you've got to beat the 19 car. I don't care if he's struggling or what's going on with Martin Truex Jr. When he gets here, he is the man.
4 wins in 17 races, 7 top 10s. With Martin, it's either he wins or he's out, because he's 7 top 10s and 4 of those are wins. So the guy knows how to get it done around this place. And you're right, it is another one of his home tracks, absolutely. Martin coming from New Jersey, it is another one of the many, many home tracks for Martin Truex Jr.
One guy who it really is his home track is Kyle Larson, and Larson is a former winner here. He won here a couple of years ago, and I don't think there's any question that he's going to be a guy to be tangled with too. I mean, he's got pretty good numbers here. Now, he's only got 1 top 5, and that was the win. Mm-hmm. But this is a really, really important track for Kyle. He grew up just down the road in Elk Grove, which is about 15 miles south of Sacramento. So this is a big, big deal for him too.
Well, and it's a big deal. He got that waiver. A lot of stink has been made on NASCAR radio this week. Sirius XM, that's been the talk of the week so far, is was he going to get it? Was he not going to get it? They finally granted it. Then people are upset not. So it's a big week for him to go out and perform and get back to that championship form that he was in. You look at some of the other guys. I mean, Chase Elliott, 5 top 10s in 7 races. Ryan Blaney, 4 top 10s in 7 races. But the one that sticks out, Ross Chastain, 3 top 10s in 4 races. But Brad Keselowski, 13 races, 3 top 10s, not one of his favorites.
No, and only 1 top 5. But, the thing with Brad is I think Brad is a terrific race car driver, but road courses really haven't been quite as much his thing. I don't
he has
know
the one famous race. The one famous race with him and Marcus Ambrose at Watkins Glen. Yeah, that was the one time that he looked, was on it. And then other than that, road course is not his forte. But let's get it.
Marcus Ambrose is a guy who, he had a race here. I think won at Sonoma, and something happened to him once. Daniel Suarez has been to victory lane out here in Sonoma. And look, we've got some guys that are going to get some time on the racetrack in the Xfinity and in the ARCA races. We've got Noah Gragson is going to be running in the ARCA race, I believe, on Friday. We're going to have some guys running on Saturday in Xfinity race. So there's going to be some folks that are going to get a little experience on this track before Sunday.
Well, before we're done, you're going to hear a couple names you've never heard on this show, and we'll talk more about them when we get to them. And let's get to the odds to win. And
hey, Brendan, one thing I also want to point out that's a little bit different than what we're used to having on most of our race weekends, because of the repave here in Sonoma.
Okay.
There's going to be a 1-hour practice session on Friday.
Oh.
These guys are used to only getting 20 minutes of practice, and then they go into qualifying. So it's going to be a 1-hour practice Friday, and then Saturday is just going to be qualifying, no practice. But for our bettors out there, I think they can probably get a good read off of seeing an hour practice session as opposed to the normal 20-minute practice session. So something to watch.
No, absolutely. That's big news right there. It's going to we'll finally get to see, have a little bit of a read on the field, which will help us, especially with the repave. But I think it's not going to really affect who the favorite of this race is. I'm with you. Martin Truex Jr. is your odds-on favorite at plus 600. Ty Gibbs, second at plus 700. Then you got Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, both single-digit numbers at plus 800. Then you jump over to Tyler Reddick, 10-1. The Dinger is back in a colleague car this week, 14-1, always a threat at the road course. Michael McDowell, 16. Chris Buescher, 16. Denny Hamlin, 20. And Daniel Suarez, 25. Motley, those two right there that I just named in the Ford camp, Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher, that has me going, ooh, wait a second.
Well, I don't dislike that, and I will tell you maybe the 2 things that leap off the page at me on this. Number 1, no disrespect whatsoever to Ty Gibbs, but to be the second favorite at 7-1, I know he had a great run at Austin, at COTA. I don't really quite understand that one, but here on the flip side, Denny Hamlin is 20-1. Denny led 33 laps of this race last year. Denny had some bad luck last year, had a pit stop issue that really kind of threw them off. And it's not like we haven't heard that before, that Denny had a pit stop issue. But I tell you right now, everything seems to be clicking with that 11 car. And to put him at 20-1 to win this race, that just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, well, and how about the guy, we've talked about this the last couple years. Who has been one of the hottest guys on road course? Hasn't won, but who's been one of the hottest drivers on road courses? Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher has 10 races, 9 top 10s in the last 10 road races, not Sonoma, road race. 9 top 10s in 10 races. 90% of the time he's in the top 10. Okay, maybe he's not going to win, but 16-1, he's been there every freaking road race. I mean, this guy right here, you and I both said, I think it was middle of last year, we went, oh my God, he's got like 5 straight top 5s. It's like, where did this come from on road courses? He's getting it done.
Yeah, I like to say he is sneaky good on the road courses because you're right. We rarely ever really see him leading, but suddenly we look at the rundown and there's 10 laps to go and there's Chris Buescher up there in the top 5. So I'm with you. I don't know about picking to win, but guess what? We have picks for top 3s. We have groups. There might be some spots for Chris Buescher.
Well, and he was 4th at Sonoma last year. So I mean, this was one of his good ones is also. So I do like that. And Daniel Suarez, next winner here, 25-1. So I mean, there's some numbers right there that kind of make me scratch my head and go, ooh, there's a lot of value. Even at a plus 800, I like the Chase Elliott number, right? I mean, Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott are 800. That's a good number on those two guys.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get even more astounding when we get to page 2.
Let's kick off page 2 with the guy I said has 3 top 10s in 4 races here. Ross Chastain, 25-1, with our most recent winner, Austin Cindric, who, FYI, has tons of road course experience, and here at Sonoma. Kyle Busch, 30-1. Oh my God. Ryan Blaney, 30-1. And then Will Brown, one of those names we're talking about, a V8 supercar driver, he's 30-1. Joey Logano, 40. Alex Bowman is out there at 60-1. Then we got Cam Waters. Cam Waters, the other one that we're talking about, 80-1. And then Brad, some of the other long shots. I look at this, and to let everybody at home know, Jeff, Will Brown and Cam Waters, both are V8 supercar guys. Cam is driving for RFK. Will Brown is driving for Richard Childress. We have, of course, had the amazing Shane SVG, right? The Shane Van Diesbergen, deal at Chicago last year. I don't see Sonoma being where these guys have the advantage that Shane had last year, like at Chicago.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think now, look, if Will and Cam can just get some good seat time here at Sonoma, if they're planning on running Chicago in 5 weeks, then we might be talking about those guys a little bit more. But I'm kind of with you. I think it's a little bit of a different animal running here at Sonoma as compared to the Chicago Street Course or even a COTA or somewhere like that. So I'm not ready to jump in on them, but I'll tell you what, man, 30-1s on Blaney and Busch and 25-1 on Chastain. I mean, there's a possibility. I mean, look, obviously it's betting because we don't know what's going to happen, but those are some pretty long odds on some pretty good racers.
Hey, do you remember who was runner-up here last year at this race? That'd be Kyle Busch. He was second at this race last year. So, I mean, Kyle Busch, not a slouch here. If there's ever a day that Kyle Busch is going to try to become and be Kyle Busch again, this is probably the place he would like it to start so he can get that monkey off his back and get that win. So I think that Kyle is a great spot right there for a win at 30, and wait till we get to the top 3s. It's just as good. Let's jump into those, Jeff. Martin Truex Jr., your favorite, 160. William Byron, Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson, all at 200. And Christopher Bell, at 200. Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, 250s. The Dinger, 350. Ooh, I like that. Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, 400. Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin, and Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric at 6. Will Brown, Ryan Blaney, both at 800. Again, Chris Buescher, 400. Michael McDowell, 400. AJ Allmendinger, 350. Denny Hamlin 600. I mean, there are some numbers here. Cindric at 600. Blaney, 800. There are numbers here that they're really going to make me tough to get out of the top 3s and go to the groups, because there are some great numbers here on guys that absolutely can flat out fly around this place.
And I think that's going to be one of the hard things for this week because, look, I think we all believe Martin Truex Jr. should finish in the top 3. So that only leaves 2 other spots in the top 3. And we see a number of guys. I mean, there's probably 8 or 10 guys. There's great value on top 3 finishes, and there's just not enough room for all of them.
Now, let me give you a little stat, though. I bragged about Dinger earlier, right? How Dinger is so great at road courses. He has 1 top 10 finish in his 7 races at Sonoma. This is not a good road course for him. Can he turn that around, though?
What you're saying is you don't like that plus 350 as much as you did 30 seconds ago.
Well, no, I love Dinger on road courses. Like, when we talk road courses, I mean, come on, what he's done, Brickyard road course, he was fantastic. He won a couple of the road course races in Cup the last few years. He is great at road courses. I'm just pointing out that as great as he is at road courses, Sonoma is not the road course that he is that great at. So it is 350.
And it's kind of interesting. And it's kind of interesting that, this would be his hometown track. He grew up down in Los Gatos, which is just down by San Jose. It's really not that far from here. We've got a number of drivers. Tyler Reddick, it's his home track too. So a lot of guys out here, and you'd think they'd run a little bit better out here.
Let's get to the second page real quick. It's to kicks off with Kyle Busch at 800, Joey Logano, Alex Bowman at 12, Cam Waters at 16, Gilligan, Justin Haley, Chase Briscoe, Carson Hocevar, Brad Keselowski all at 25, Bubba at 50, Austin Dillon 80, Noah Gragson, John Hunter both, and Corey LaJoie at 100, Zane Smith, Ryan Preece 130s. I go back to that Kyle Busch right off the start. Kyle Busch plus 800 for a top three. I think I might have found a lock pick for me.
That's definitely a good one. I do like that one. Wouldn't be surprised to see somebody else that could sneak in there. Who knows? Noah Gragson. He's a good road course racer. He raced well in trucks and Xfinity. So we'll see how he's able to fare. I think he's a guy worth giving a look at.
No, he is. And I go back to the Brad Keselowski stat, 25-1, been the best Ford almost every week, third last weekend, but just not a road course for him. Looking at those stats, at 25-1, he deserves to be there. I think he's okay.
It's going to be tight. I think there's a lot of value there.
No, there's some value around the board. All right, guys, when we come back, we got through the top threes and the picks. We're going to give you the odds, to head-to-head odds. Yeah, that thing. Forgot about that. And then, of course, our favorites, the group matchups, when we return.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome back in, everybody. Brendan Gaughan hanging out in the South Point studio. We lost Mr. Motley for just a moment here. We had a little technical difficulties, but he'll be back to us in a second. Matter of fact, there he is, hanging out back at Sonoma. Mr. Motley, welcome back. Good time to lose us in commercial break type thing.
I thought you guys just didn't want me on. I thought you guys cut me off.
Well, Jeff, we just finished up our top threes. We just finished up our wins, and now we're into head-to-heads. And I'm jumping right off the bat here. We do have a Martin Truex don't line, but there's one that intrigues me right here. And you mentioned it a second ago about the amount of love for Ty Gibbs off of one road course race that he ran at COTA. But Kyle Larson plus 105 to Ty Gibbs minus 125. This is Kyle Larson we're talking about here.
You're going to give me Kyle Larson on a plus line
in a head-to-head
anywhere. I'm all over it, man.
In a head-to-head. I'm like, hold on a second here. I get it's only a 105, but a win is a win right there, baby. I like that. I also look, Kyle Larson's getting 130 to Martin Truex's 150. That's a little bit tougher for me.
Yeah, and maybe I shouldn't phrase Kyle Larson on a plus line. I'm taking it against anybody but Martin Truex Jr. at Sonoma. And let me tell you something, Brendan. I stood in Victory Lane last year, and the Victory Lane now is actually over on the drag strip. It's
Mhm.
not where it used to be beside the grandstands. So I was there for about the last 6 or 7 laps of the race last year. And watching Truex, the way he came down through the S's, the way his car would go up through turn 1 and up the hill, you could really see all of that. And I am telling you, Brendan, it was the smoothest, prettiest thing you've ever seen. It was as if that car was on a rail.
He's
And if
smooth.
they get that set up with his ability to drive, I'm telling you right now, he is going to be a bear to beat.
He is smooth. There's another one that's intriguing on this to me, Jeff. Will Brown, the guy we talked about, one of the Aussie V8 supercar guys, and we know how great those guys are, especially in this type of car. He's just barely a dog. He's even money to Joey Logano's -120. That's kind of an odd. The Westgate, I applaud him for that. But Joey Logano, 4 top 5s last 10 races here at Sonoma. I mean, not bad. Only an even to 120.
We just have that tendency to not take the favorites when it comes to head to head. I mean, I like Joey Logano here a lot.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't -120.
Yeah, but it's only -120 is my point. I mean, if you're putting him up against a guy that's never been in this car, he's a V8 supercar guy. I get it, but he's never been in the car. I don't think he's really ever been to Sonoma, and this isn't a track like Chicago that nobody had been to, and SVG got it in the rain where nobody had any experience. This is a guy that has 4 top 5s in the last 10 races here, and you're giving me only -120? I mean, it's a 120. -120, I might take that.
You might be the first person all year that takes a minus guy on a head-to-head, but hey, it cashes,
Still
right?
pays.
Even if you only get 0.8 of a unit for winning it, or I guess 1.8, we'll give you your dollar back. So
it's still a W. I might have to go with that one. I'm tempted on that right there, but I like those two. I definitely like that. Let's get into our group matchups, Jeff, and we kick off, of course, with our Group A, which is actually pretty evenly matched here if you look at the odds. Martin Truex Jr., your odds-on favorite at 210, but then Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott all at plus 290s. I once again, love for Ty Gibbs. I mean, he was second, best odd getter, but I call this a 3-man horse race. I don't think that Ty should be in that vein with these guys, at least not yet.
Yeah, and it's like I just said earlier, it's so hard to bet against Martin Truex Jr. In A group, we're usually not really high on the A group. This week, same way. I'm not very high on the A group. I'm probably going to stay away from this one. I feel like Truex is so dominant here that even though you got really good numbers at plus 290 on Elliott and Larson, I just don't know if it's worth it.
Well, and I'm with you. It's just not enough enticement for me to jump off that. Like you said, Martin Truex Jr. at Sonoma, pretty tough to beat. And I just Group A to me is not the X group. It's just, you're right. It's like our normal tough to bet in that group. Let's get to Group B, and I like something here. Christopher Bell is 220, William Byron 220, co-favorites, and then co-dogs, AJ Allmendinger and Chris Buescher. Jeff, I just talked about I don't want to say dislike for AJ, but I really, really do like that Chris Buescher at 330.
It is so tempting. I'm with you. I do like Chris Buescher at 330. I also know that William Byron and Christopher Bell are going to be solid as well. Look, Bell seems like he's got his confidence back. I mean, last week he couldn't really do much about the dropping a cylinder or whatever. But as far as the odds go, Buescher looks great here at 330.
Yeah, but William Byron has 5 races here, 1 top 10, average finish of 20th. And Christopher Bell has 3 with 1 top 10, average finish of 20th. Chris Buescher, 2 top 5s in 7 races, 14 average finish. I like Chris Buescher.
Yeah, good pick.
And we've talked about Chris Cash. He's cashed his tickets for us. I like that right there. Let's get to Group C. We got 2 co-favorites again, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, the teammates over at Trackhouse at 235, Kyle Busch 305, and Austin Cindric at 310.
Well, I'm not buying totally into Cindric, even though he did win last week. Congratulations to him. That was great. And Suarez, he's won here. That team has really been struggling. I really like this coming down to between Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch. They're both very hungry, but this is one track where the number of laps that Kyle Busch has here, I mean, heck, he even raced Legends cars up here on this track when he was a young kid. So he knows his way around this track as well as anybody. And you're going to put a number that's over plus 300 on him. I really, really like Kyle Busch at plus 305 here. I know that car hadn't quite been up to snuff this year, but I think he is still up to snuff as a driver, and sometimes the driver can make up for the car on a road course.
Austin Cindric has a 5th place and a 20th place finish here, so he's got a mixed bag. He's only got 2 races, one of them a top 5. And that Ross Chastain stat, remember I threw out there 3 top 10s in 4 races. That's not bad, but there something to me says that Kyle Busch, after last weekend with Kyle Larson, is he knows that there are very few windows that he can take advantage of. He's going to be on his game this weekend at Sonoma. I like your pick right there with Kyle Busch also.
Yeah, and he might be right now enjoying a steady diet of nails. I just think he's kind of in one of those, you know what I mean? He is biting nails right now, ready to get after somebody.
Yeah, he's either Kyle Busch is about to have the explosion that is Kyle Busch, or he's going to ball it all up and put it into a race course, and Sonoma could be it. But we'll see. That's the exciting part about Kyle Busch is he's fun to watch.
Well, and look, the other thing with this, too, is I think for the Childress team, they had 2 cars running in the top 10 most of last week at Gateway, something they haven't done. And again, we talked about that hour practice. Nobody talked more about how much he likes practice than Kyle Busch. He gets a lot out of those practice sessions. And the other thing is, look, they're going to have a 3rd car to bounce some stuff off of, too. So I think there's a lot of things that will play into the Childress camp this week that could help Kyle Busch here.
Well, I remember 2 years ago when they started the no practice thing, Kyle Busch was the one that he dropped the most in performance that year because he talks he likes practice. That's another good thing I forgot about. Makes me like Kyle Busch even more in Group C. I'm slowly finding my picks so far, Jeff. I'm weeding my way through it. Let's get to Group D. We have our favorite Denny Hamlin at 235. Ryan Blaney, Will Brown at 270, and Joey Logano at 300. A lot of love for Will Brown here, but you talked about Denny Hamlin. I talked about Ryan Blaney. I kind of like Blaney here, but this one to me is a difficult group just because Logano, Hamlin, and Blaney. Forget about Will; those 3 are so evenly matched in my head here.
Well, what I like here is it's Group D, and it doesn't stand for Denny. The fact that Denny is in Group D. Boy, I'm not passing Denny. I'm not leaving Denny Hamlin in Group D and not taking him.
Well, I can't say you're not far off there, right? I mean, Denny Hamlin all the way down in D. You don't get that this year often, and we always talk when you get a guy of that caliber this far down, tough to leave him hanging. So I cannot deny your logic there. I just still something to me I don't like about this. This is my kind of X'd up group for the week.
Well, and keep in mind, he's got 6 consecutive top 5s. I know this is a little bit different track than the last 5 races that we've raced on, but Denny's got tons of experience here. He's comfortable here. Like I said, he led 33 laps last year. He was actually the dominant car early on in the race, so I don't think that should be discounted. I understand we're running, 112 laps or 114 laps or however many laps the race is, but he led a quarter of them last year, and he could certainly lead more.
He can. And look, Denny Hamlin, he wants to, right? I mean, we know one thing we know about Denny. He and Michael Jordan both, they're cut from the same cloth. They like to be up front and like to make that statement. So
and a big week for him. They just opened that new shop, which is like the Taj Mahal of race shops. I doubt there's a Formula One team in a nicer shop than what they opened down in North Carolina.
How many garage mahals have we been a part of in our lives together? DEI I think had the first one, and then Penske had theirs, and everybody. And right now 2311 is the latest one. The fun thing I like about that, just a side note, the windows on the outside. A window would be straight, right? Let me get goodness gracious, I got to figure out what hand is what. They're slanted at 23 degrees on the outside.
Oh, good grief. I guess nothing was forgotten. Huh?
No, Jordan does not leave any detail out when he does a building. Way to go, Michael. I kind of dig it. All right, I
saw MJ getting his little tour of the place this week, and he seemed to be quite impressed.
Oh yeah, no, he's starting to enjoy this ownership thing. He's kind of getting a kick out of it now. Let's get to Group B. Group B kicks off with Hendricks, Alex Bowman at plus 220, Cam Waters at 250, Brad Kay at 270, and Chase Briscoe, the big dog, at 350. And right here, Jeff, The Cam Waters thing is kind of the unknown, but we talked about Brad. We haven't talked about Chase Briscoe at this place, or Alex Bowman. And to me, it's a two-man horse race, in my opinion. Alex or Chase. I'm trying to get some stats on him.
Well, and I think if I were going to go between those two, I probably like Briscoe. And I'll tell you what stands out about Chase Briscoe to me, and I probably this sticks with me is the Indy road course a couple of years ago, how well he ran. Remember, he and Denny Hamlin got into the dust up there at the end of the race. But again, they were racing for the lead. So Chase Briscoe has proven himself that he's able to run up front on a road course. I understand the Indy road course is a little different than Sonoma, but Briscoe's comfortable on these type road courses, and we've seen him have some good runs.
Alex Bowman has a career average finish of 17.6 here, 7 races, 2 top 10s, and Chase Briscoe only has 3 races, average finish 19.7, no top 10s. So
Briscoe also has an ARCA win here just a couple of years ago. So he's got that under his belt too.
No, then I think you gave me the 350. They've enticed me. They've let that number out long enough. All right, when we come back, guys, we'll get to Group D, get to the props and our picks when we return and finish up on Gaughan Racing.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu, plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
Welcome back in, everybody. Brennan Gaughan, last segment here at Gaughan Racing. Mr. Jeff Motley hanging out in Sonoma. And Jeff, we ended our last one with the Group E matchup, and we're kicking off one of our favorite groups of all time, always, Group F. Here it is. Carson Hocevar, who honestly has kind of earned his way out of Group F most of the times, but he is the favorite at plus 210. Todd Gilliland at plus 230. Austin Dillon 330, and Noah Gragson 335. Todd has a lot of experience here in West cars. I know. Don't remember how he finished, but I know he ran probably 4 or 5 races in the West back in the day. Does that help right there? Austin Dillon, average finish 17.4. He's been running. He gets better every road course. Couple 11th place finishes just outside the top 10 here for Austin. Tough one to me. That Carson Hocevar kid, he's been pretty good every place we go.
He has been, and I think you're right. This is kind of a tough one. Big news for Todd Gilliland this week.
Just signed
an extension to stay with his team, so I think that's going to give him a boost. And we talked earlier, Noah's been a solid road course racer throughout his career. He certainly ran well in the trucks and in the Xfinity Series and on the road courses. So 335, that's a big number on him. Austin Dillon is not really a big fan of road racing. I think he has probably surprised us a couple of times. But I think if you want a big number, you go after Noah Gragson. But to me, this group is very, very hard to call.
It's a tough one today. I mean, the Hocevar kid, no stats here for him, of course, right? I mean, nothing there. Todd Gilliland, Noah and Austin have the big number. They got the most experience in the field, right? I mean, so you got to give a little credit there. But there's nothing I can pick here. I can't go through any stats and say, okay, this one is the stat that makes me lean towards any of these guys. Very tough for me to pick Group F this week.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
All right, let's get into the manufacturers. And this is a little bit kind of shocking here, honestly. Toyota, the favorite, 130 to Chevy's plus 140. Tight. I don't doubt either one of those, right? Martin Truex, the favorite. Ty Gibbs, of course, second favorite. Kyle Larson, some of those guys. But wait, Ford is a plus 350. Ford won last week. Ford won on the short track in the All-Star race, but it's a short track format, which is kind of the similar setup for a road course. Ford has been on fire lately. I mean, they've been absolutely coming now, and now you have Penske and you have all these other guys stepping up. Plus 350 for the Ford. You got Michael McDowell. You got Chris Buescher. I just gave stats on both of them. You got plus 350. I might jump into the Ford camp this week, Motley.
Yeah, I just think the hard part is getting across the finish line first. I think I can see the Fords maybe placing 3 or 4 in the top 10. I'm just having a hard time seeing a Ford win because I think those Gibbs Toyotas are going to be really good. And, you mentioned the fact, the Hendrick cars are going to be solid. So I think it's going to be hard to get across the finish line and be the first one under the checkered. But I could certainly see some Fords taking 3 or 4 of the top 10 spots.
I don't know that Chris Buescher, all that running he's been doing, they've been getting better. Ryan Blaney, I think, okay. I don't know. 350 is enticing. It's a big number again. So I may have to work on that. I may have to jump in there. I don't know. Don't know.
All right.
Let's get in the championship odds for a second. Not a lot of change. We'll just briefly touch on it. We've talked about it. Austin Cindric, the biggest mover, of course, this week. He's at 100-1, where he was 200-1 start the season. Still, though, a lot of guys that have big odds that there's value. I still think there's a lot of value in a guy like Joey Logano at 30-1. A lot of value in Ryan Blaney at 12. Martin Truex or Chase Elliott. Chase is double digit again at 10. There's still value out there, in my opinion. Even a Chris Buescher at 40-1, who had that great run last year into the playoffs. I think there's a lot of value there still.
Oh yeah, no question about it. There's certainly a few guys out there that does have some value. If Cindric goes and wins another race, then you'll say, well, I should have bet him already. But right now, I think you're exactly right. There is a little bit of value on those guys, but the ones at the top are the ones that I believe we think are going to be the challengers right up to the very end.
Yeah, there's once again, folks, future betting. That is what you do. Matter of fact, I just found a future ticket up here on the. I was going to take it, but I figured that it was on camera. I had to give it up to the crew behind the glass because they would have caught me taking somebody's ticket. But it was an NBA.
Yeah, how
future.
would that look for the owner of the casino's son to be stealing betting tickets?
It was an NBA futures ticket on the Mavericks. I mean, they're the only. Apparently, it's a good ticket because there's only 2 teams left, and one of them is the Mavericks. So.
The question is, though, did they buy it today? Because I don't think
I didn't look at that part. I just saw the ticket and read that part. When was the ticket put? But ticket was bet today. Never mind. It's not that big of a future then. It's not that good of a ticket. All right. Let's talk about how we did last week. And Jeff, you and I had a stellar week. You won 3 of your 5 picks. Or no, sorry, you won 2 of them, but you won one of the big ones. You won the Brad Keselowski top 3 bet, which gave you a plus 450. That's nothing, no slouch there. And then you also won the Tyler Reddick bet at 355. So you ended up with a big week, plus 505, to give yourself a plus 8. You're on the season now, move back into second place. Me, I got lucky. I got myself one of those wins. And when I say lucky, we all know that it was absolute luck in the end, because I kind of lucked my way into it with a guy running out of gas and a guy blowing up. And so I will take
we both got lucky.
Yes, we'll take it. Hey, a win's a win. It's cash the ticket. I only lost 0.3 of a point, so I did not lose any ground. But our old pit crew, back to their old ways, back to the 0 for 5. They lost. They pulled themselves out of the basement, Motley, and then they put themselves back in. They just can't. They just can't get out of that basement.
Tough loss for them losing Bell in Group C, but hey, their loss was your gain.
Yeah, and we all jinxed Eric Jones. Eric Jones did. We all 3 of us expected good things out of Eric Jones. And all three of us did not get good things out of Eric Jones. That was kind of a bad bummer for all of us. But if you look at the season standings, Motley, you're following Gaughan Racing and you're betting. You're making some money. I've got the healthy. Is that a good way to put it? Healthy lead? Healthy?
It's a very big lead. There's no question. It's a big lead.
I'm just want to make sure I put that out there. Healthy lead, healthy. 27 plus 27 units. Come on now. How many of the other South Point Studio hosts are up 30 units on something? Come on, guys. I think that's not half bad. And even Motley and the pit crew up almost 9 units, up almost 7 units. So we're having a good season. All of us abound. But as we all know,
can we say take that, Alex White, Frank Nicotero, Jeff Parles?
We can dog all of our hosts, but here's the problem: we start dogging them, and then we turn but sour. Then we got to take it back. But I'm 30 points to the good. I think I got room to. So hey, Frank,
and hey, I can't dog on Alex since she did pinch hit for you when we found out you weren't going to be on about 30 minutes
before show. But hey, listen, hey Frank, ain't nobody from Pittsburgh in the series. Ain't nobody from Pittsburgh. So you can brag on the Pittsburgh all you want. It's another Martin Truex home track, but we're nowhere near there. But so let's kick off as we do, which Motley, it is not you going first this week again. It is back to the usual spot for the pit crew, and the pit crew kicks it off. Dang it. They like the same guy as us, but they're listening to us. They're getting smarter. Chris Buescher in Group B is their leadoff hitter. He's plus 330. They're doing Joey Logano in Group D at plus 300. They're doing Brad K in Group E at plus 270. They're going Austin Dillon, Group F at plus 330. And then they're taking the Larson plus 130 against Martin Truex Jr. That was not, you and I both kind of were surprised about, that's a tough one to pick against, but it is a plus 130 on Kyle Larson.
It is. And I might have a Kyle Larson pick too, but it's not that one.
so
my first
say
one,
you.
Look, the top threes were good to me last week. I'm going top three again this week. I'm going Denny Hamlin plus 600 for a top three. I said I was going to go Kyle Larson. I'm going in with him against Ty Gibbs plus 105. My other three picks are in the groups. I'm going to go with Kyle Busch in Group C at plus 305. Denny Hamlin to win Group D. I'm all in on Denny this week, plus 235. And then I like that huge plus 350 on Chase Briscoe in Group E. I'm gonna roll the dice with Chase.
All right. I don't dislike that either. So I am also going to stick with a top three. I kind of like having a good mix of things. I'm sticking with a top three bet, but I'm going Kyle Busch. That plus 800 on Kyle Busch, being on the second page of a top three, all the stuff going on with him. I think Kyle's going to get the ship righted a little bit right here. You saw both RCR cars looking pretty good last week. I like that. I am going to take the Kyle Larson head-to-head, not against Martin Truex. Against Ty Gibbs at plus 105. It's Kyle Larson against Ty Gibbs. I'm sorry, no offense, Ty, but I don't think you're there yet. I almost want to bet that Joey Logano minus 120 just to make Jeff Motley do math. But I'm not going to because we know Jeff isn't very good at the math part. We have to correct him all the time on the show. I am going to go Chris Buescher, though, in Group B because I do like that plus 330 out there. I am going to go head-to-head against some there. I am getting the not Kyle Busch. I'm going Joey Logano in Group D. I'm going against you. I like that plus 300. I think that Joey's going to have a good week with the Penske's and the way they've been gaining. I'm going Logano, and then I'm jumping on that Ford bet, that plus 350. I'm going to go for the 350 on Ford. I'm hoping Joey and Buescher and McDowell can all have a good race for me, and even Blaney or somebody get me that W at the old wine country track that you're hanging out in. Do you have a glass of wine, Motley, while you're up there? You had any?
No, I'm not a real big wine drinker, and it also seems that when I come up here, I show up at the track between about 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll leave here about 7 o'clock tonight. I'll grab some dinner and probably just go back to the hotel. It's kind of a boring existence in some ways.
I guarantee you in that media center fridge, I know you're in the media center. I know what it looks like. You go out there. I guarantee most of the fridges have, the Coke or the Pepsi, whatever the track is sponsored by. I guarantee you there is wine in that fridge. Is there not? Is there not wine?
There won't be any wine in the fridge. Oh, look, if I could, I should turn if you guys, well, never mind. I've got 2 bottles of champagne sitting on my desk right now that are
Champagne.
for Victory Lane.
No, champagne don't care. We need wine, baby. It's wine.
They call it sparkling wine up here.
Oh, yeah,
it's called
'cause-
sparkling wine up here.
Because it can only be champagne if it's from Champagne, France. We're highfalutin.
You know,
over
there's
here.
a Chardonnay Country Club up here, by the way, golf course. I love that name, the Chardonnay Country Club.
We digress. Thank you very much, guys. Mr. Motley, thank you for joining us this week. Appreciate you coming in. I'll see you tomorrow night at the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame dinner, and appreciate you as always.
All right, we'll be back in studio next week.
All right, guys. That's our show for today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening on SiriusXM. Always listen live, and see you next week. We break this one down and go into wherever the heck the next race is.